Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dark Pixel Podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Landon.
I'm Kaysen.
Today, we're going to be talking about the fact that Shadow of the Colossus, one of the greatest games of all time, is out on PlayStation 4 today, and you should all have bought it already.
One of the greatest consoles of all time.
One of the greatest consoles of all time, one of the greatest games of all time. And they've now come together, a perfect union. So yeah, it's getting great reviews. I'm going to talk a little bit about why Shadow of the Colossus is so great.
Yep.
And why you should buy it, if you haven't already. We also want to tell you guys about this game that I had not heard of until like a couple days ago, called Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's an indie-developed game. It looks freaking incredible.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that. The trailer for that will be in the description. Make sure you check it out. Then we got some topics from the audience here. Dude McGuy. In the last 15-20 years, there have been a lot of interesting and fun board games released. Wants to know about our favorite board games. We got Chocolate Rob. Is there a definitive version of Dancing Mad? Dancing Mad from Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
Then we got Dominic Steck. Do you ever get game burnout? If you do, what aspects of game design make you feel like this?
I think you meant, did you ever get the game Burnout, right?
Burnout.
Oh, yeah. You ever played Burnout?
What aspects of
Burnout
game design
Paradise.
make you feel like you love Burnout so much? we did a Burnout video on this channel.
We did, actually, yeah.
We did. We tried to wreck as many cars as possible. It was the best part of the game by far.
Long time.
All right, so let's jump into Shadow of the Colossus here. We talked about Shadow of the Colossus at length last week. I invite you to watch the last topic of last week's podcast.
And about its moral ambiguity and its linear story ambiguity. It's plot ambiguity.
Plot ambiguity, and it's it was good stuff.
Yeah, it was a very interesting game. It's done it better than any other game, I think.
Yeah. It just launched today, which by the time you see this will mean tomorrow or yesterday.
Yes.
February 6th. It is out on the PlayStation 4. And I played this game back on the PlayStation 2 when it was first released. I made a video, top 30 video games of all time or something like that. By the way, I think I'm going to make another one of those.
Yeah, that was a few years ago, huh?
Real soon. Because that was in 2011 or 2012.
Yeah,
There's been a lot of great games that came out since then that are definitely on that list now. So I'll make another one of those soon. But at the time, it was a top 10. I think it was number 7 or something like that. So It is one of my favorite games of all time. And I did a video a month or two ago where I was sort of comparing the original version's opening to the new version, the remake version. And there were a lot of people talking about like, oh, it doesn't, they've changed the color and the tone of it feels different, and this just this doesn't feel the same. I totally understood that by watching the intro, but now that I have watched gameplay, watched it in motion, I think that it actually looks and feels pretty much the same. It's just that intro, I think, that sort of like used a lot of blue rather than the green, sickly color scheme, right?
F up, use some blue, and dang it, man.
Why are you using this
base.
blue, beautiful color on this sickly world? Anyways, if you guys have not played it, I'm telling you, it is absolutely worth getting. The one thing that makes this version really attractive, in my opinion, is that they have revamped the control scheme. A lot of people who...
Oh, that's a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of people, and you can play with the original if you want to. That's an option. You can play with the original control scheme, but a lot of people who are, haven't played it and try to go back to it, it's like, this feels weird to play. I don't like the controls. They're not very responsive. It just feels weird. It's not what I'm used to. They have a whole new control scheme that, as far as I've seen from reviews and people who I know on YouTube who have played the original and this one, they've been improved a lot. So it'll feel a lot better to play the game. So go out and get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to maybe stream it this week.
Oh,
see what happens. I would love to. I'm going to go out and get it after this podcast after this podcast and then my stream's over. Then I'm going to go get it. And I'll let you guys know what I think. But yeah, just wanted to point you in that direction. Shadow of the Colossus is out. Freaking go get it.
So here's the question. If you redo your top 30 and you play which version of Shadow of the Colossus are you going to put on?
I'll have to have 2 slots. Number 28 is Shadow of the Colossus remake, and number 7 is original. Or something.
That's hilarious. So now it's going to be 3.
I've seen some people on Twitter saying that this surpasses the original for them.
Cool.
This is like, there's one guy I saw, he said, this is one of my top 5 favorite games. This version of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it to be great because all those concerns I had and that people in the comments were expressing about the changes they made ruining the mood or atmosphere, that just isn't the case when you're watching someone play. It's like, this just feels awesome. It's just as good as the original, if not, well, improved, obviously, in a lot of ways. So I agree with that. I think that is going to be the case, but I will wait to pass judgment until I've actually played the game, which will be tonight at some point. Anyways, it's out. Okay, so this one we really got to get into, though. Kingdom Come Deliverance, man. I had no idea.
Watch the trailer right now. Watch it. Watch it now.
It's in the description. Okay, this is the reason why I want to. This is the reason why I want to talk about this, because we've talked a lot recently about the AAA industry ballooning out of control. Actually, Jim Sterling made a great video this week too. You should go and watch his latest Jimquisition. It was in response to that video that was made by Extra Credits, that was like defending the game industry and the exorbitant costs of making games and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Jim does a really good job.
Yeah.
He does a really good job of, not attacking them, but like addressing why the ideas they're bringing up and the defenses don't really hold a lot of ground. I suggest watching that. Anyways, we've talked a lot about that recently in our podcasts. And the reason why I want to talk about this game, Kingdom Come Deliverance, is because it is an indie-developed game. They've had a substantial... they have an investor, a billionaire investor, who stepped in and funded most of it. They had a really successful Kickstarter to fund part of it, though.
Yeah.
They asked for £300,000, ended up getting £1.1 million.
Yeah.
So, they were looking for 10% of the total budget, and they got obviously way more than that on Kickstarter. But in any case, it's like a partially funded thing from Kickstarter, which is like a new wave way of funding things, and then partially funded through more of a traditional, way of going about it. And so I don't think there's too much to worry about in terms of people who are really wary about Kickstarted games because, like I said, the whole budget's not coming from...
It's safer.
It was
way safer.
Only the start was kicked, not the whole thing.
Not the whole thing.
Started it.
And there's a billionaire dude at the top who is, I'm sure, keeping a close eye on everything that's going on.
Oh, totally.
So they're not money's being. It's going to be an efficiently run thing, I'm sure. And the results.
Game.
The results really, really speak for themselves.
Yeah.
Watch the trailer. What's really cool about this is that it appears to be an extremely historically accurate story. Well, I don't know if the characters in it, but like in terms of there's no magic or dragons. It's not fantasy. It's based in it's based in like real medieval times.
But it is a fantasy. It's just based in reality.
Based in reality. Based in true reality this time.
Based in fetching reality.
Let's see. I think I have a little thing here that sort of explains what it's all about. So, Bohemia, located in the heart of Europe, the region is rich in culture, silver, and sprawling castles. The death of its beloved ruler, Emperor Charles IV, has plunged the kingdom into dark times. War, corruption, and discord are tearing the jewel of the Holy Roman Empire apart. One of Charles' sons, Wenceslas, has inherited the crown. Unlike his father, Wenceslas is a naive, self-indulgent, and unambitious monarch. His half-brother and king of Hungary, Sigismund, the Red Fox, senses weakness in Wenceslas. Feigning goodwill, Sigismund travels to Bohemia and kidnaps his half-brother. With no king on the throne, Sigismund is now free to plunder Bohemia and seize its riches. And then you play as the son of a blacksmith who his village is torched by these raiding parties, and you join with a local lord, Lord Radzig Kobila, who's forming a resistance against the invasion. So, really, I mean, basic story there, but I think if you watch the gameplay here, it's basically first-person sword combat. You can kind of see like the helmet kind of in the field of view, so it's going for extreme realism in like 1-to-1 sword combat. And it just looks really, really good. The graphics and animation are freaking off the charts. It reminds me a little bit of like what we've been talking about with Hellblade, how that was made by sort of a mid-sized studio, but it's competing on the level. It is comparable. The production value is comparable to a AAA game. And so I think everyone should keep their eye on this because, again, I feel this is the answer to the problem of the exorbitant cost of AAA gaming is to scale back, be more efficient, and you can still have games on this level.
And for what we could see, the game was made for, it was around like $5 million, but since they got more than they were expecting on Kickstarter, it may be closer to $6 million. But that is just such a small fraction of what it would cost EA or Ubisoft or anyone else to have made basically this exact same game. It's a lot of money, sure, but $5 or $6 million is
now
really
5 or 6 million can buy you more in some countries.
Yeah, that's what to say.
Can in other countries, and
the studio's based in Prague, right?
They're based in the Czech Republic.
Yeah, so they're leveraging that advantage. I think probably. I mean, there have always been Eastern European developers that have been pretty successful.
Yeah,
but
Polish and
I think if people are looking at what's going on with CD Projekt Red,
that's probably the big one.
These guys,
some Romanian companies too, though.
Yeah, it's like, you know what, we can move more of that kind of development over there. There, you can get real high quality work.
Yeah,
more bang for your buck, so to speak. I just wonder for that, what the man hours they purchase with that, what would that have cost?
Were these people all working?
Now, I will say. Other studios, like for example, Ubisoft has like a branch in like every country in the world.
Right. Yeah,
true. It's like the Assassin's Creed games are developed like 24 hours a day. Like there's always a team working on them. It's like the freaking British Empire. Sun never sets. Ubisoft Empire. So other people are doing this. They're just not. Their whole project isn't there. So.
That's funny. You know what I really liked was in the trailer they showed tons of actual gameplay. They showed you this is what playing the game looks like, and I didn't know if I was going to get that at first. It starts off, it's raining, there's thunder, you're at a castle, you're seeing these sweeping shots that they looked pre-rendered, but as the trailer keeps going, they show you in-engine, lots and lots of in-engine footage of what the game actually will look like when you play it, and I think that's a big deal because games don't freaking do that anymore.
Yep. So often they're showing something running on a powerful PC behind the scenes at E3 rather than on a PlayStation 4 or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually something Jim Sterling brought up in his video about the industry blaming the gamers for demanding higher fidelity graphics.
Which is, Jim Sterling's brought that up many times, and he needs to stick to that talking point because that's the most... That's the best one. It's like gamers want more quality, and the studios can complain about that all they want. But in the end, you're not wrong to demand more of your games. And the studios, if they can't give you more, well, they can do it, is the thing. If they can't do it for the right price, then they're in the wrong business.
There's a Forbes article. I don't know if you guys read it. Forbes stuff, when they cover video games, kind of hit and miss. But this one was interesting because they're saying the secret sauce for the Nintendo Switch is that it was already underpowered when it came out. Like, that it changes the expectations.
Right.
It shifts the game where,
which is
obviously this is what Nintendo's always done. This they try and do more with less hardware, and people criticize them for it a lot. But when you think about
what they're doing.
When you think about it, if you can make it work, you shift everyone's mindset away from that. Right. And so the studios working on Switch games, like this guy saying, I don't care how much better they could make Mario Kart look. This is basically like what I pretty much want Mario Kart to look like.
Totally. It didn't need to be a market improvement from the Wii U. It didn't need to.
Yeah.
And the Switch isn't all that much more powerful than the Wii U, and it doesn't need to be.
So in that regards, and maybe because it doubles as a handheld, people are more willing to swallow that pill.
The handheld thing probably helps a lot.
I get it. It's got. Yeah. But in that regard, they might be doing some studios a favor, where it's like, hey, you don't have to go bonkers and have a gigantic art department.
Well, you know what? That might be why the Switch is becoming a preferred destination for indie developers.
Yeah.
Because they don't need to be held to that threshold, that same quality level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even with that being said, this game is quite high quality.
Oh, it's way high,
Yeah.
way high.
It does compete on the PS4 level, not just the Switch level.
Yeah, absolutely. As did Hellblade as well. So
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I really am into that idea or this way of approaching making games, and so I'm keeping an eye on it, and I'll probably get it when it comes out, and I'll keep you guys informed about how it is, because this is the kind of project that I really want to support, because this is where I want to see more of the industry start to go. Not saying I want AAA to disappear entirely or anything like that, but I think more of this will help the industry as a whole.
Yeah, it's funny when you compare it to movies, because movies' response to smaller studios making high quality stuff, when like Red cameras came out, and when you know everybody has good visual effects now, like the movie District 9 is I think probably the best example of how high quality a film can be on a low budget, and relatively like a fraction of the cost of the other films that were being made around it. And like the response from Hollywood has been to make even more massive films. It's to spend even more
Do
money.
what they absolutely could not.
No one else can do this. Yeah, the freaking Avengers and Star Wars, what it is now, and all this stuff. And so it's kind of like, I don't know where the video game industry is going. Like, this can happen, and I would love to see the industry say, hey, let's learn from this, and let's, I mean, I'm a fan of older games anyway, so I don't care about the graphical arms race. But the more likely thing that's going to happen is they're going to do what Hollywood did, and they're going to be like, oh, you didn't like our $100 million game? Well, here's a $500 million game. And they're just going to keep doing that, and they're going to release less games. There will be less tentpole, less, IPs. They're going to come out 10 years spaced from each other, kind of like Elder Scrolls.
The best-selling games every year are still the FIFAs, the Call of Duties, and the Maddens, and
sports
and
games.
That's probably still not going to change.
Right.
So there's like a level where their marketing can pay off for that. I guess. But obviously, that's not going to be surprising anyone with new, interesting ideas. Like, probably know what the next Madden is going to be like.
I know, it's true. They don't need to innovate much.
It's those franchises. So, like you're saying with films, it's like they receded into franchises. There's an article that's been making the rounds lately about 1999 being the last year that Hollywood was still doing like really original stuff and succeeding at it. Matrix was that year. They had a big old list of the only other one I could think of that came out that year isn't a good example. Is Eyes Wide Shut, but Tom Cruise was married Nicole Kidman, and they had that movie where they would go to the really classy sex parties.
Oh my gosh! Okay, yeah. I can't
Anyways,
remember.
it's a really bad example.
Yeah.
But franchises though, right? So like FIFA, Matt, people just know it. And the indies don't have that, but what they do have is maybe bring a new game mechanic to the table or a different perspective or whatever. So those franchises will never go away in movies.
Right.
They'll never go away in video games.
And they will never drop to a $5 million budget.
Right.
Like, they're too valuable for that.
Right. Yeah.
They could be made on $5 million, but they'll never do it.
Uncharted 5 on $5 million. I dare you.
Ooh.
Dude, I was serious. Do it.
Might be the
please.
best one. There's something about constraints that actually help artists to innovate and to make something better than if they had unlimited resources.
So a lot of these I think are passion projects for groups of people. Like this game. Right. This game is 7 years in the making or something.
Yeah, I think it says 2012 is when they were announcing that they were starting to work on something that was a medieval or a fantasy.
But I've known of a lot of people who are way into medieval stuff, and they do want a game like this. Like, they're like, oh, none of the sword fighting you see in movies or games is legit.
Well, when they announced this game, that's when right around the time we started our YouTube channel, and that was when was that first-person sword fighting game on Steam that was going on?
Oh, Chivalry?
Oh, Chivalry. Yeah, I remember that.
That game real big.
War of the Roses?
At this point in time, when they were like, let's make this. took them a long time to make this.
But better.
No, I was gonna say, like, I think sometimes if you're a giant studio, it's hard to have everyone be like super passionate about like the thing. They're there because it's a job, right? And obviously these people, it's still a job, but I think it's more likely in an indie developer that they share the vision, and that might affect kind of the quality of work that they put out. You know what I mean? Because like there's that whole thing where if you pay someone to do a job, they're automatically going to do a worse job than if they weren't paid, which is true. Like they've done studies that have shown that. So I wonder if that comes into play here. You know, so because of that, you have people that are less efficient per person than on an indie team, where maybe they're more efficient per person, and so you're squeezing more out of each individual person you have there.
Yeah, probably. I could see that being very true. Anyways, Kingdom Come Deliverance looks awesome.
Look at it.
Watch the trailer. Follow it. I'm following it. I'll make a video on it soon.
Stream it so no one buys it, right?
Yeah.
I'll stream it so that no one buys it.
We know how to
all
damage
seen what's
their
happening.
property forever. If we stream them, they're finished.
That's true. Why isn't Activision out there streaming all the indie games? Streaming all
That's
day
exactly. It's destroying the competition, dude.
We're screwing these people over. That would be so funny. Oh my god. You can just see like the CEO smoking a cigar, streaming like some indie game. Just like, suck it. Oh,
It's a very good point. We should bring that up to Emmy Hennig next time.
We'll be like, dude, stream the competition. Stream the competition.
Stream the crap out of it. Stream them into the ground.
We should make a video about that, like this gang war, where like these video game companies are just like trying to screw each other over, but they end up helping each other so much by just advertising their stuff. But they're just like, oh, that'd be so funny. All right.
Oh, geez.
Man.
Let's move on to Dude McGuy here. In the last 15 or 20 years, there have been a lot of interesting and fun board games released. The board game space has made a comeback. It is now much bigger in the U.S. than it used to be. However, it seems to me that the crossover between video games and board games is still very weak. We essentially only get Monopoly versions that are themed after video games or digital versions of tabletop games like Risk or Settlers of Catan. Does the Dark Pixel Gaming crew have any favorite board games, American, Euro, or other? If so, are there any mechanics from those board games that you would like to see recreated or adapted in a video game, or vice versa? Great question.
That's a very good question. This is one we haven't had before.
The first thing that springs to my mind, hold on, I gotta actually find it, because I did a weekly wrap-up video for Game Tyrant here, wrapping up their articles for the week. Oh, that's not it. And there was there was a board game that is a crossover with a video game property, I'm pretty sure. It's called, it's just like I'm navigating to it because I can't remember off the top of my head. Right. The name of it is Nemesis. Did you guys ever hear of that Nemesis video game? I don't know if it's the same property. Nemesis video game.
I know Resident Evil Nemesis, but that's pretty different.
Star Trek Nemesis.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not it. Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. I thought Nemesis... Anyways, I could be totally wrong about this. I thought that this Nemesis board game was based on a video game, but it might not be. But it looks really interesting. If you're really into board games, check out Nemesis. It was kickstarted, and they hit
a lot of board games. Kickstarter's been good for board games.
It was Kickstarter. It found its funding in 4 minutes.
Really?
It got its funding in 4 freaking minutes.
But that's for like $50.
It looks freaking sweet, though. No, it was a pretty substantial amount of money.
Wow.
In fact, I could pull it up here. Resident Evil. Oh, it is Resident Evil.
So it's Resident Evil Nemesis?
Oh, no. They're saying I thought it was a Resident Evil. Because it was Resident Evil Nemesis. That's the first thing that came to my mind, too.
That was the
so
second
the writer here is saying the same thing as me. He was like, oh, this must be based on Resident Evil Nemesis. It's not.
That's hilarious.
But do they have a Kickstarter? Oh, it was funded over 3,900% of its asking. So it got $4 million on Kickstarter.
Holy crap.
It does look like a really fun game. I won't try to explain it to you guys because I'm sure I'd bungle it. But go ahead and take a look at that if you're into board games. But anyways, that's neither here nor there because I don't think it's based on a video game, and I thought it was. But
Did you ever play Key to the Kingdom?
no.
That's hilarious.
Kind of like it was like a Dungeons and Dragons dumbed down for kids version where you don't. It's not as creative, I guess. You're kind of given a task and you have your cards and you roll the dice and all that stuff. But it's a board game where you're going. The point is to get the key and to go to the final room and beat the boss. But that was pretty cool. I haven't played it in about 15 years. But I'm not huge on board games. I have played Settlers of Catan a lot. Like that game's really fun. There's some good ones, but I don't play board games much. Mario Party is a board game.
Mario Party based.
That's probably the best board game video game crossover. But it's a video game, so not exactly what you're thinking about. They could make Mario Party into a board game pretty easy, though, right?
That would be really cool. Maybe there are,
That'd be
again, I'm not a huge board game person either, but if there was a board game that was structured like Mario Party where you land on spaces and then there's like separate little mini games that you play.
Yeah.
Like the idea of Mario Party is actually really, really good.
Yeah, I think so.
But I think my favorite board game of all time is, oh shoot. I just had it and I lost it. Star Wars.
Star Wars Monopoly.
No.
Trivial Pursuit.
No. Oh shoot! How did I forget the name of it?
We
what the
used to have a Star Wars board game.
Star Wars board game. Hold on. This
Might be the one you're
ridiculous.
talking about. No, you made it. Remember,
No,
you
it
made
was Epic Duels.
You
Epic
made
Duels.
It. Okay, that was fun. That was 20 years ago.
The game is called Star Wars Epic Duels.
Epic Duels.
And so the basically you have a little miniatures of the characters, right? So you pick like Yoda, or you pick Obi-Wan or Darth Vader, or all these different characters, and then they have like a deck of cards for their abilities or whatever, and they come with a support character, whether that's a stormtrooper or some other kind of like fodder like soldier or whatever. And so then, some of them would come with like battle droids and stuff. So all of them have these cards, right? And so you have it like a hand, and you have like a couple of actions per turn. So you'd roll and you'd move your guy as one action, and then another is to do your attack phase, and then another would be to draw like at the end of the turn. So you use the cards to attack, and then the other person would lay down a card to defend at the same time. So there's number values on the cards. So it's like my card has a 7 attack value and yours has a 5 defense value. You take 2 damage to your guy or whatever. And so you kind of just like you battle out. It's a pretty simple game, and I really, really, really liked it a lot. And I have a buddy who's way into board games like that, into D&D and tabletop and a lot of that stuff that you would get at like hobby shops and things like that. Bryce, you guys who have followed the channel for a while, when I was doing my Final Fantasy 12 review, he was with me on some of the streams while we were playing FF12.
Also, on our GoldenEye 64 in real life video,
oh yes,
is the one that does the really legit, like he's kneeling and he's shooting, and then he gets shot and he stands up and he like slowly
falls over,
just like in the game.
That was Bryce. That was Bryce.
Watch that video.
You guys should check out that video too. GoldenEye in real life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Bryce is developing a game that's sort of a an expansion or a deepening of that like Epic Duels sort of idea. And I believe that he did a video where I was playing with him. I'll try and find a link to his channel so you guys can watch that, because that game should be made available pretty soon if you guys are interested in board games. That's one that I actually think is a lot of fun. But it's based on a sort of a similar concept to Epic Duels. So if you've ever played Epic Duels, I think that you would like this one a lot. Other board games.
Candyland.
For me, probably my favorite board game that I played recently is a game called Pandemic. And it is awesome. You aren't playing against the other people that you're with. You're actually trying to cooperate with them, and you're really playing against the board. So there's a disease that's spreading around the world that you're trying to stop. And there's different kinds of roles that can be given out to each person. You essentially are randomly assigned one. And that gives you some type of special ability or perk. And you try and utilize everybody's skill sets with their occupation type to stop the disease from essentially eradicating all life. And so it's a game you will probably lose several times before you win, even one time. It's really hard. And it really all comes down to cooperation. And it's not like solitaire where you've lost before you get started. It really is like that I could tell every game is winnable. It's just there's so many potential outcomes and so many different things that you could do. It's super, super fun. And I really like that because I tend to enjoy the type of multiplayer that doesn't pit people against each other so much as like pits a group of people against something else, be it the computer or the board.
And so it's more cooperative.
The skill comes in the cooperation versus the being deceitful or using diversion or whatever. There was a guy, dude, when I was a missionary in Japan, we used to play Risk all the time.
Risk is a great game.
Risk might be the best board game.
It's phenomenal, right? Yeah. This one dude, he won like every single time, and it's like
you like ally with people and then attack.
Oh yeah,
them,
dude, he'd do the whole thing, but he'd always convince you why it was. I'm not going to do it this time or whatever.
Yeah,
he was really
no one
good
to blame but yourself each time.
And like it was fun, but after a while, it was like he'd be like, "You want to play Risk?" Like, dude, you're gonna like. I know I'm going to lose. Like, this is so. It was still fun, but I enjoy. I feel like. Maybe like I don't know, cultivating bonds with the people around you a little more than like Monopoly seems to destroy relationships. Yeah. Anything. But that game's really fun. And then on top of that, this isn't board games so much, but card games. There's all kinds of really cool card games.
Triple Triad, dude.
Triple Triad.
But one of them I tried recently that seems like really simple at its face, but it's actually there's a lot to it. Is Sushi Go, I think it was. So you have little sushi pieces worth varying amounts of points, and it's like it's supposed to be like the sushi's going around the conveyor belt, right? Like a kaiten sushi in Japan.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And you're passing stuff off to the next person and trying to save what you want, and trying to give them crap stuff. But so that was really fun too. There's no board involved in that one, but it's a little more competitive, but less like you can pick it up quick. It's tough because the first time I played Settlers of Catan or like Puerto Rico or whatever, it's like somebody has to teach you and you have to play the whole game.
Don't worry, it'll be fun. Don't worry, it'll be fun. You hear that like 50 times and as you're like playing and you're like, what's happening? Don't worry, it's fun.
This one you can pick up real quick. I appreciate games that have like a quick learning curve. Yeah, so
I played one recently. I can't remember what it was called though. It was really fun, but I can't remember what it was about.
Jenga.
It was fun though.
Wasn't Jenga.
It wasn't Jenga, no.
Supersized Jenga, like really big Jenga.
That's dangerous.
That's dangerous.
We have that over at our gaming center at Game Time. We have the freaking huge Jenga.
You have a big Jenga?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, dude, that'll fall on your foot.
There's a bunch of little kids playing with that on the grand opening, and it was like any second now, someone's gonna get freaking knocked out.
Yeah. What is it? 5 feet tall?
It's taller. It's maybe 5 feet's accurate.
5, so it'll fall 5 feet to the side, anyways.
But they weren't building it correctly, right? They're not stacking it 3 on 3 on 3 on 3. They're doing like 2 on 2 and then 1, and like they're stacking like as high as freakingly possible.
Oh, there you go.
So they're going up to like the second story, like stacking like way up there, and they're not laying them down flat. They're like up, like they're going like up, like vertically, like trying to like. Anyways, it was crazy.
Wow.
That's great.
Do you guys ever play Stratego?
Yeah, Stratego's way fun.
Yes. Stratego's a beast game.
It's been probably 7 or 8 years since I last played that, though. But that game is super good. I had a strategy. I used to play against elementary school age kids, and I'd put my flag towards the front, but behind one of the pawns. Yeah, there's the 2 pools.
Yeah.
I'd put it behind one of those, and they could never find it.
Gotta trick all those kids.
Gotta trick them, dude. I was so good at playing against the kids.
And the thing with kids at that age, they don't care that they're losing. Like they're just enjoying it. Like I remember there was one kid at one of the schools always wanted to play Pirates of the Caribbean chess, which is just chess. With no, they threw in new rules.
Oh,
like there's
a
Kraken, and the Kraken can like do stuff, and
he can knock over all the pieces.
I guess, but kids would get obliterated like every time, even when I would try and like go easy. But they're first graders, but they have fun. You know, it's admirable. It's like hey, they're just enjoying it.
I was trying to teach my niece how to play chess during the Christmas break.
Oh gosh, what is she? 5? How old is she?
6.
I think she's 5 years old. or
5,
6. Maybe.
yeah, that's
It
how it
is. I maybe should
Just turned 6. In
Yeah.
December, right?
So yeah, so I was trying to teach her how it works, and she's kept. Well, she just wanted to move the queen like all the time. I was like, you don't want to put your queen there because I can take the queen if you do that. She's
And
like, and then she try to like move it. Like, no, look at what's over here.
Move it, please. Don't just move the queen. Once a kid gets in their mind, oh, the queen's the most powerful piece. It's like
they just want to move it everywhere.
that's all they care about. They're just like, I don't care about a pond. What are they gonna do? I'm the queen. That's funny.
Yeah. Anyways, that's some thoughts on board games.
Those are.
I'm not a well-cultured board game enthusiast, so I don't have a ton
Not
of
particularly.
experience. But they can be fun sometimes. Okay, next one from Chocolate Rob. Is there a definitive version of Dancing Mad? The original was 17 minutes. Most orchestrated remixes top off at around 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's mostly because so many parts are repeated like a million times.
Yeah.
So it's like you'll go through it for 4 measures. That's good enough. I don't have to do this for
I don't have to
16
keep it.
measures. What is your preferred version? I quite like the Black Mages one, and there are several versions with a pipe organ and orchestra. But what would be the best full-length version? I'd quite like a remastering of FF6, just so I can get a definitive version of the soundtrack with real instruments. But how would you want an FF6 remake to be approached?
Ooh, this is 2 questions.
Yeah, 2 questions. A twofer going on here.
Twofer.
What would you alter, and why is it the arena? Would you like a ground-up FF7 style remake or a graphically enhanced gameplay faithful touch-up akin to the new Shadow of the Colossus remake? Maybe FF15 Pocket Edition Chibi remake or something entirely different. Okay. So,
Let's do
Dancing
the first
Mad
one first.
versions. So I have a version of Dancing Mad that I created.
Yeah, Mike did one.
You can listen to that with the link in the description if you want to hear what I did. It's a metal / orchestral sort of like a take on it. The Black Magic.
Mike spent like 6 months practicing the scales to get that song right.
It was long. It was really hard to play.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard song to learn.
It's very hard.
It's freaking long.
And then let's see, the Black Mages version I like a lot too.
Me too. That's my
think,
favorite.
Yeah, my favorite part of that is like towards the later half of the song when it's going like it's like going crazy, and then they just kind of like cuts out, and you just hear the little organ, and it goes crazy again.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I love that part. It's just something really, really, really like this, the quick contrast. They like, suck it away. And it goes crazy.
It's so powerful. I like the guitar solo though. About halfway in, maybe a little past halfway in.
Yeah.
There's like a 3-minute guitar
Really
solo that just like goes, and it's so smooth, and it's just so well done. It's one of my favorite solos of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So
really good, really good version. So I like that version a lot. There's actually an OC remix done by who's the composer
Jeremy
of
Soule?
the Elder? Yes,
Yeah.
Jeremy Soule did an OC remix of Dancing Mad. If you guys have not
it's
heard
the
it,
best one of the remix.
it's freaking incredible. It's almost like a straight choral and orchestral take on it.
Jeremy Soule's freaking talented.
It's fantastic. And if you guys didn't know, Jeremy Soule is the composer of the Elder Scrolls series. So Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind and everything like that. So I love his version. In my very, very first Final Fantasy VI review that I did, in the beginning portion of the review, in each version that I've done, I have Dancing Mad playing, and I'm showing like a montage of some of the epic moments from Final Fantasy VI as that plays on the top. And in my original version, I mixed the Black Mages with Jeremy Soule's.
Oh, really?
Together, and I did a lot of doctoring to sort of slow down so that they matched their BPM without like messing up the sound too much. So I combined those two together in that version of the review that I did, and so I did. Obviously, you're not supposed to be doing that with OC remixes,
right?
So I wasn't able to do that in later versions, so I ended up just making my own take on that same idea of like a rock / choral thing going on, but. Anyways, I love those two versions of the song a lot. What's Landon's favorite version? Dancing?
Oh, it's Black Mages one. There's
Black
no
Mages.
question. And I was actually just thinking, like, man, I kind of miss Black Mages stuff at this point because
It's been a while.
They put out a bunch of albums real quick, and I remember buying
they
up
put
like
three
all of them.
in 5 years, maybe.
At one point, when they were even still like only available in Japan, I was freaking like ordering them off of eBay.
Yeah, me too.
Which
For
I
that third one, I
swear-
couldn't find it anywhere.
I swear people
Yeah.
were pirating it and just printing it out to look legit and then selling it on eBay. That's
But
what
how
I
do
think
we
I
know?
got. I was trying to get the real thing,
Yeah.
but but oh my gosh, just absolutely love that stuff. That was like such a magical time for me for like Final Fantasy because I don't know, it was 2003, so you know what that means. So that was just great. It was good. That's
As for an FF6 remake,
Oh yeah.
after having played through a little bit of Romancing Saga 2 that just came out on the Switch, and then with Octopath Traveler coming up,
Yeah.
I would really, really much prefer that they try to do an enhanced sort of like 2D look to Final Fantasy VI, akin to one of those, or maybe a combination of the two, or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah, that would be great.
That is what I would want to see. I don't want them to do a full ground up AAA super realistic remake of FF6. I don't want to see that at all.
Me
Please don't do
neither.
that.
No, Octopath Traveler's stuff is just like some guy today was tweeting out a bunch of just random screen grabs from just stuff that they've seen throughout the game, and it's just like, oh my
It's
gosh.
a beautiful
Like
game.
everything is just gorgeous, and it's such a true representation of what those games felt like. You know what I mean? Like it still feels like it because people
because you still fill in the gaps with your mind.
sure, yeah, and like
But it's
the sprite animations are still present.
Yeah, and there's
And,
still
like,
12 frames per second.
Yes.
but
like
oh, it's so cool.
like people have been struggling with what to do with those graphics. How do you update it but not lose too much of that feel? And I think they've finally figured it out because
This is it, dude.
I remember messing with the SNES emulator because I emulated FX the first time, smoothing out all the edges and being like, "Wow, sweet! It's all smooth now."
That's what they're doing with the phone.
And then the
versions of these
phone
games
one, they
now,
basically just put that shader
That
on
smoothing
it.
filter.
It's
not-
smooth it all. Looks like garbage.
Yeah,
It looks
don't
like
play it like
horrible.
that, people.
Looks
No.
horrible.
they finally figured out. Like I think
Dude.
we're gonna see more of this look.
I hope
I almost lost my mind. There was a comment on my Chrono Trigger video, and the guy was saying something like, "You could have applied a filter to this. These freaking pixels are pissing me off," or something like that. I was like, "I'm gonna reach
Holy
through the
crap.
screen and strangle you. I'm gonna fetch and kill you if you say that to me again." Like, no. That ruins it. Like the
Don't
pixels
touch-
are
yeah,
part of
that's
what
what it
makes it
was.
so charming in the first
Yeah.
place. Pixel art is amazing. Get away from me with that bullcrap filter garbage, dude.
Now I
Jeez.
understand that there's a school of thought that's like, well, pixel art looks different on a CRT, and like
Right, it was
that's
a little blurrier.
That's true, and
smoother.
people have tried to emulate that, but every emulated version of that looks worse. To me. It looks absolutely worse.
Absolutely.
but the closest I have seen is the NES Mini. It has that scanline mode. What do they call it? Like a CRTV mode, basically, where it imitates the CRTV look on an HD TV, and like it looks close, like it looks good. But I'd still rather play it on full sharpness and see the pixels. Like
Yeah,
I don't care.
Me too. I like that look.
I
I
think
like
it's
the
cool.
look of full sharpness, and you can see all the individual pixels. I actually enjoy that look. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, you guys are pixel peepers.
No, dude. But I think it's cool to examine it in high definition because you can like pick out how they were trying to like get like a just like the details in someone's hair with just these little dots of color. You know what I mean?
It's
And
like a Cezanne painting. Like you don't.
Yeah.
It was done using little dots, like on purpose.
Pointillism.
Like yeah. Because that way you can break down. Because you only need so many points. I mean, Stu Maschwitz tweeted something like this out years ago, but you only need like 10 or 12 points to suggest the human form, basically, to have the ankles, knees, hips, elbows, wrists, head,
Hat.
neck. Yeah, anyway.
Mustache, literally
But,
mustache.
and then it's like, no, that's it. But as long as if you out of focus it a little, it looks like anyways. But yeah, pointillism.
Yeah. I really like that. I really like to see that detail and to see what they were working with and the limitations of the artist trying to represent something with like just little dots of color.
Yeah. The creativity, in my opinion, is off the charts. Like the creativity of those pixel artists is just
Amazing.
so high.
Amazing. I love it.
Especially
Which is
the
why
pioneers.
Which is why, you know, for the N64 and the PlayStation 1 era, while I understand this push that sort of like moved the industry into 3D, my favorite looking games on those are still the ones that used pixel art, like Xenogears and Suikoden and Grandia and like those games that still used pixel art sprite characters. I just think those look so much better than Final Fantasy VII and like all these games with like these jacked up faces. And
I personally, a lot of people may disagree with me on this one, but I personally think Final Fantasy VI looks better than Final Fantasy VII. Like if you are looking like the detail in the backgrounds and the characters of Final Fantasy VI far surpasses the pure blank zero detail of the polygons in Final Fantasy VII.
I think the backgrounds in 7 are
the pre-rendered backgrounds are nice. Yeah,
but the characters.
But I'm even talking about the FMVs. I'm talking about like I don't know.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy VI looks better.
I would agree that FF6's like overall aesthetic and like just style and just graphical presentation is more pleasing to look at than 7's by a long shot, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if the characters fit those pre-rendered backgrounds in 7 a little better, it would make the whole thing blend better. But
sure,
the polygons it didn't work. I didn't think.
Yeah, I agree with that. But they did what they had to do so that they could make FF9. So you know.
Although I would not be opposed to a Pocket Edition Chibi remake of Final Fantasy VI, I still think that would be cool because it would be like PS1 level.
Like FF4's DS remake?
Yeah, like 4. Landon actually mentioned that before. Final Fantasy 4's remake for the DS. That if they did a 6 remake along those lines, super cool. That would be great.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go, Rob. That's our answer to that. Final question for the day. Do you ever experience game burnout? Yes. If you do,
Me too.
What aspects of game design make you feel like this? What do you do to deal with it? That's from Dominic Steck.
I think it's something different every time for me. It's not the same thing I get burnt out on each time.
I am experiencing enormous game burnout at this moment, at this juncture.
Oh, at this juncture? What is it?
At this juncture.
I feel like we're in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting.
All junctures.
I just don't want to play games. I have no motivation.
Yeah.
If I were not running this channel right now,
you'd take a hiatus.
I would be reading books. I'd be reading novels instead.
Oh, there you go.
Because I'm writing a novel right now. I'm looking for inspiration. I'm really getting more into that at the moment. It's just something that I'm more motivated, more driven to do right now. But that being said, I think when I started to really feel it, probably towards the end of the year and big time while I was playing Xenoblade 2, which is part of the reason why...
Because you're trying to power through a game that you didn't have a desire.
Yeah, I didn't even really like it, and I was trying to force myself through it, and I played it for about 30 hours, and 30 hours is a lot of time for me.
That should be enough.
It's a lot of time for me these days, trying to like spare 30 hours to do something. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask with my schedule. So it's not. I'm not. What I mean by that is not to say that Xenogears or that Xenoblade 2 caused my game burnout, but more that it was like coming and then like trying to like make myself play that sort of just like really made it like flare up big time. I don't like repetitive, tedious tasks. And a lot of RPGs are full of that kind of fluff with its side content. And this kind of happened to me when I got toward the end of I Am Setsuna. This might have been actually where it started, because I was playing I Am Setsuna around September or October of 2017. And I was going through it, and I wasn't doing a ton of the side content because I didn't feel motivated to do it. I was just trying to get through the story. And you get to a certain point where it's like, this is going to be your point of no return. I'm probably not strong enough to fight the final gauntlet of the game and beat the final boss. So what I should do is go do a bunch of side content. And I just don't want to. I don't want to do that. Right. I don't want to. I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend time doing something I'm not interested in order to get to back to the part that I like. And games are becoming so big now and so full of all of those little distractions and side quests and a million other things that you can do. And in large RPGs, a lot of times, your level is really has a lot of bearing on what you can or cannot do. And so you have to spend a lot of time looking for something else to do so that you can get back to doing the main thing. Now, in games like The Witcher 3 and stuff like that, where their side content tells stories and they're very fascinating and they're not just a lot of fetch questing and boring, tedious stuff, that's enjoyable still. And I actually enjoy the grind a little bit, so to speak. But there's a lot of games that don't go through the effort to make it side content that interesting. And so I start to just really not care. And so I gave up. I was like, I got basically to the end of I Am Setsuna. I don't really want to do this. I'm done. And I just walked away from it. And Xenoblade, this is true of all the Xenoblade games. Xenoblade is full of really boring stuff to do on the side. Go find this thing, go kill this monster, go do this or that.
Yeah.
And because this channel is focused on RPGs and that kind of thing is so rampant in RPGs, I feel like in the last few months I've just really started to get tired of it. I need a break from RPGs, man.
Well, because people demand that games are longer, and like they're mad when they hear that the next Final Fantasy is not at least a 60-hour plus game, right? They want that, so it's tough because the developers are like, okay, sure, freak, I can make this game 500 hours.
Yeah, we can make it 1 million hours. Just have some random generator for quests and
kill how many scorpions you want to kill.
Yeah, now you killed 6. Oh, now the town's in trouble. You need to kill 7 scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
Then it'll be 8.
It's a little bit of an MMO kind of thing.
I feel the same way. I get into regular like game burnout times of my life. It's like around E3 is when I am back into games. I don't know. It's just
cool again.
It's exciting. It's fun. I see new things. I get back into games, and as those games come out throughout the remainder of the year, I'm excited because I remember how excited I was before, and now I'm going to play it. But the games rarely are as good as their marketing, and usually it's around wintertime that it's like, all right, like I'm done. Done playing games. Come out. But what's coming out this year now? Oh, okay, we're getting close to E3. Oh my gosh, and that kind of thing. I think that kind of thing happens to me a lot. Even with Mario Odyssey, that game's super fun, but I have no desire to get all 1,000 moons. Like I don't want to do it. I don't want to. I don't care. I don't even want to get 500. I have 300, and I'm like, I'm done with this game. I know there's a new thing at 500, but I'm just not. I'm done. I'm done at 300.
Yeah.
And I haven't played it in a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
And I haven't played. I played Last Guardian recently for a little while. Still haven't beaten it, but we kind of stopped playing. I haven't played that game in maybe a week and a half now. So it kind of happens. It's like wintertime. I'm not as excited about games. But you betcha if freaking some Zelda content or some new stuff is going to show its head soon, that all of a sudden I'll find myself way more interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, it's almost more like what's going on in the rest of my life. And
sure.
if Krista and I have found a show that we've gotten way into, or we just have other stuff keeping us busy, people visiting, or we still do, but I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but Krista and I are way into bird watching.
Oh, nice.
And bird watching is a freaking blast. Let me tell you right now, you just have to get into it. That's the thing. It's like anything.
Do you need to understand bird law first, though?
You need to learn bird law. You need to learn bird law. You need to go toe to toe against bird law.
In order to safely bird watch, you got to know your bird law, dude.
But it's like anything. Like you hit that point where once you know enough, it becomes more interesting, right? Like everything kind of follows this progression. I remember my roommate Tyler. He went to work for his brother one summer, who was way into NASCAR.
Yeah,
he came back, and I was in Denver working or something for the summer. Came back, and he was so into NASCAR. I was like, "What happened, dude?" He's like, "Dude, you just need to
once you learn
really
about the cars,
you just need to
then
learn
it becomes more
what
fun.
they're doing and the drama, and then watch a couple races, and you'll be super into it." I'm like,
I can't. I've never watched a full.
I'm just
500 lap race.
I can see it because there's so many people that are into it. There's merit there, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. But people only have so much time in their lives, so you have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
obviously I understand somebody being like, I'm not going to get into bird watching. I'd rather do other crap. Like, it's fine, it's sick, like there's so many cool things to do in this world. Like, it's a lot of stuff to do. Sometimes people are too busy to do any of it. So anyways, that's what it usually is for me. It's not as much something that happens in a specific game as much as something that happens outside of the game. So like I have some games that I'm just essentially, my default state is I'm just always technically playing this game, but maybe like like Monster Hunter,
Splatoon, Monster Hunter.
I'm like Monster Hunter Generation.
The playthrough of Monster Hunter never ends. It just
never ends.
You're always just still continuing to play through Monster
Yeah.
Hunter.
So you just like
get another level.
It's like, oh, I got a little time. Oh, I'll play some of this or whatever. And yeah, Splatoon's like that for me too. It's like, oh, do I have a little time today? Oh, sure, okay. I'll play a little Splatoon, or whatever it may be. I played a crap ton of Breath of the Wild that way, where it's just like, little bits of time. So, but I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of an example of like a game that has made me want to play less games. Nothing is strictly coming to mind. It's usually just life stuff that takes me out of it.
I want to add to this real quick that while I am experiencing game burnout, that doesn't mean I don't enjoy sitting down with the patrons when I play games with you guys. I had a blast going through Terra Enigma. Terra Enigma was a huge breath of fresh air for me. It was like, this is the kind of game that I feel excited to sit down and play every day. There's like almost nothing about it that's tedious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm playing Dead Space right now with Ash, the current patron, and like, dude, I love that game. I freaking love that game to death. So I still love games. I just have found myself, and then Hat89 recently sent in Tales of Berseria. I'm really excited to play that. I think that's going to be tonight or tomorrow alongside Shadow of the Colossus, because again, I really want to play Shadow of the Colossus. I'm still playing games. It's not that I'm not gonna. It's not that I don't enjoy them at all.
That's the weirdest thing, is that winter is usually a down lull in games, but this specific year, for some reason, there have actually been a lot of big games that have been coming out lately. And
yeah, I had a good time with
February releases. Like, it's surprising.
Yeah, I had a good time playing with Dissidia online over the weekend. Here's the funny thing about me though, I literally never play online multiplayer, like never, right?
Yeah.
I like to prove that point. I had no idea that you have to have PlayStation Plus in order to get online.
Oh yeah.
So I was like trying to get online to play Dissidia when I was making the video for this week, and I was like, you have to pay money, because I know that like Xbox Live's always been that way, but the PlayStation 3 wasn't that way, the Wii U and the Wii weren't that way, and so I've gotten so used
Switch
to.
isn't that way yet.
I've just gotten so used to like you play online for free that I was like really surprised by that, and so not once ever have I tried to get online to play a game multiplayer on the PlayStation 4.
On the PS4. Wow.
And so this was the first time I had tried it. Anyways, funny story, but I enjoyed. I did the 2-day trial so that I could get on and do that for the video. But I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed playing Dissidia. I'm just trying to say that, like, in general, in my free time, when I'm not like doing Time for Dark Pixel work or doing my Patreon streams or whatever, I'm really, really wanting to open my free time a little more to do more reading and get into literature a lot more, because I'm really starting to love writing and I want to kind of get better at it. And so anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with gaming right now. It's just so many games too. That's the other part of it. There's always like 5 games coming out that are like, oh, I gotta try that. I gotta play that. I can't get to all of them. It's overwhelming, and it's just like there's a billion games in the backlog.
That's
and you look through your Steam, you look at your Steam library, and you get depressed.
You haven't played almost all of them.
Just like, what am I doing, man? Look all this money I spent. I never even opened this thing before. And it's just there's so much money in it, and it's so popular. Gaming has become so big. I feel like the whole industry has really just ballooned out of control, and so it just feels overwhelming. And every game, go through another 6-hour tutorial to finally learn like all the nuances of how the game works. And it's like every time you pick up a new game, you're like going through like lectures and basically like classes to like learn how to play this game. and like pick up a new skill, learn a new skill. So it can be exhaustive. Right. And so that's just kind of how I feel at the moment. But
it's just life, I guess.
Just life. Just life. Anyways, that's the end of our podcast, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you guys. If you have any topics you'd like to share with us, if you're a patron, hit us up on Patreon. I'm going to be posting those on every Monday now, so that's going to be a regular thing. Every Monday there will be a post requesting questions or requesting topics for the podcast. So you can look for those every Monday morning is what I'm going to be shooting for. But if you want to ask here in the comments on the YouTube channel, you can do that too, or you can hit us up on Discord in our podcast chat channel.
Yep.
Or whatever means you feel like doing. Reach out to us. Get us topics for next week. I heard something. What's going on?
There are people who are laughing loudly.
There's some merriment happening over there.
Yes, indeed. We don't know what's going on. My daughter probably burped and farted at the same time.
That's amusing, dude.
It's fetching funny.
She's very musical.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you again next week, and peace out.
Later.
Yep.